Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to open the next session on green technology transfer. First of all, I would like to both compliment and also thank the United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation and the Organization of American States for having organized this incredible event and for hosting it, and of course, above all, for having invited us to structure this session. We are going to be adopting a format that might be slightly different to other sessions by inviting members or partners of a platform called WIPO Green to discuss innovation, technology transfer, and diffusion. And each of those partners will also, towards the end, make an announcement of new technologies and new partnerships aimed at scaling up and accelerating the innovation and diffusion and uptake of green technologies. There's a booth downstairs where you can pick up great case studies and a brochure about WIPO Green. One question that was asked by some of you yesterday and earlier today was, why WIPO? What does the World Intellectual Property Organization, one of the specialized UN agencies dealing with intellectual property, why is the WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization, organizing this session? Aren't patents the problem in technology transfer, is one of the questions I was asked yesterday. Without going into a long lecture, allow me to just say a couple of words about innovation and then let our partners speak, partners who are actually working on the ground, really implementing new technologies, making it work on the ground. I would like to define innovation. Innovation for me is nothing else but doing something that adds value. Full stop. Doing something that adds value. Now, to do something, there has to be something to be done. Ideas, translate them into a new process, a better way of doing some things, or a better technology. So there are elements at the invention stage and elements at the diffusion stage that need to be addressed. But it's fantastic to do something that adds value. And we really and truly hope that this session will add value to this event by perhaps inspiring you to join the partners and to scale up technology transfer, South-South cooperation, triangular cooperation, and cooperation in every different direction. So with those couple of words, I would like to invite Anya, the co-chair of this session, and my colleague and friend at WIPO, to introduce the panelists.
Thank you. So I'll start from that side of the table. We have from my side, far left, Alison Matches from General Electric. Then next to her is Edward Mungai from Kenya CIC. Next to her is Kemi Fado-Yutimi, who works for All Eyes on Africa Communication, but who's on the board of Bamboo Bikes, and that's the entity that she'll represent here. Next to Kemi is Kingsley Kalusha from SSC. On my right side, we have Payin Lifon from PIPA. Next to her is Yorimasa Suwa from Teijin and the Japanese Intellectual Property Association. And then next to her is Situni Uldada from UNEP. Thank you for joining us today. What we want to do is here to start the panel with one general question that we'll ask all the panelists to answer. In particular, we want to bring out how developing country companies can be better connected to the emerging global innovation systems. And I'm stressing here global, sort of having a broader notion of technology transfer than just South-South cooperation, but in all different directions. So what I would like to ask Alison first is, based on your company experience, how can developing countries, companies become better connected to those emerging global innovation systems?
Well, great. Thanks, Anya, and thanks to the organizers of the conference for setting up this discussion, and to WIPO Green for inviting me to talk to you today. You know, partnerships, I think, are one of the most effective ways to transfer technology, because it's not just about moving technology from one place to another, but rather leveraging what everyone knows in order to make things move faster. And the truth is, today, it's rare that any single player is involved in developing a technology solution. It's more a combination of multiple players of all sizes and from all sectors. And I think what's particularly important is to accelerate technology diffusion and transfer. You need a combination of both local know-how and technical expertise. And it's often the local know-how that is overlooked, but I think it plays an equally important role in the process. You know, the faster you want to diffuse technology, the more important it is to understand the local environment. And when I say that, I don't just mean in terms of local conditions, although that's obviously important, but also understanding local infrastructure, how the culture of a place, how do decisions get made, who plays what kind of role in what profession. Those are equally important. In fact, sometimes the critical link in terms of getting technology out there and not just deployed, but truly adopted. So I think, just to sum up, what's important to understand is all players from wherever you are have something to contribute, and to remember that you bring that know-how to the table, and it's just as important as the technology. So thank you.
Alison, I'd be very interested, you mentioned this local know-how and technology. I would like to invite you to dwell in a little bit more on how do you structure that interface. I defined innovation as doing something that adds value. How do you ensure that that local know-how is valued, and how do you structure those things? How do you go about it? What are the secrets?
You know, I think it starts with an openness, right? So no party can go in thinking that they know everything. If you do, you're going to miss out on very valuable information. So that's certainly a part of it. And part of it is making sure you define the right problem. So just as maybe a simple example, right? Maybe deploying wind technology where the wind doesn't blow very much or blows too fast might not be the best idea, and you have to understand that. And same with solar, right? So if the sun doesn't shine, then you're not going to get a lot of solar energy. And those are simplistic examples, but I think when you get into the nuances of understanding that local culture, that's going to be particularly important. So it's about, you know, welcoming nuance and making sure that you've taken a cultural approach as well as a technical approach.
Thank you. Edward, let us hear what your view is on this question.
Thank you, Anya, for this opportunity. And I also want to thank the organizers for organizing this event, and especially so to WIPO Green for having invited me to come and share some of the insights with you. Now, looking at how can we make more companies, and for that matter, innovators in Africa to tap into the global innovative system, I think it's good to first of all ask ourselves the question, how many innovators are dying with their innovations because they don't want to share those innovations? The fact of the matter is that thousands and thousands of innovators in developing countries are dying or are going to the grave with their innovations because they don't want to share them. And the reason for this is what I want to reflect a little bit on, is because they don't have, or we haven't created a framework where they can be able actually to talk about their innovations without them being snatched from them. So what that means is that if we are going to enable them to come into the global innovative system, we must reassure them that their ideas will not be stolen for that person. And I think the key element to this is to have an IP actually plays a key role here, where we will safeguard their ideas. Once we have convinced them that your ideas will remain yours, then the next thing is probably to provide a framework where we'll be able to match them with people who are doing exactly the same or close to the same in other developed countries. And this obviously will be able to help them not to reinvent the wheel, but to be able to tap the best out of what other countries are doing. And I think, again, here is where initiative like WIPO Green will come in, where they will have a database, where then they can be able to tap into that database. And finally, I think the other key element is that once you have safeguarded them, once you have ensured that there is a matching, I think the next thing is to make sure that the ideas or the innovations which are coming up are adopted to the local situation. And I think this is a critical element to be able to have adaptability of these ideas. And therefore, again, we must create mechanism on how then we can be able to bring these two parties together, one from developed country for that matter, and the developing countries, share their ideas for the purposes of creating solutions for developing countries. Thank you.
Edward, thank you very much. I remember 2 years ago I was in Nairobi with you at an event with about 200 small and medium-sized enterprises for 2 days, and everyone, with one exception, all the 199, with one exception, had asked questions about more help on how to use IP, and I thought that was extremely interesting. What I would like you to illustrate a little bit is your type of services of the Climate Innovation Center of Kenya. How are you going about in building that trust and confidence for the local inventors and innovators to participate? Can you outline a few of your services?
Thank you very much, Anato. Kenya Climate Innovation Center is actually an initiative by the World Bank with the sole purpose of trying to solve some of the challenges that entrepreneurs and innovators are facing, and especially so, clean tech innovators. Those, we provide actually 5 services, and I think the first one is access to information. And within access to information is where we provide things like IP advisory. We also provide testing services. We also provide matching services. It's also important to note that another key element service is access to finance. One other challenge that innovators are facing is that they face the valley of death. And valley of death here means when they have their ideas, they don't have somebody to help them actually pilot that idea. Kenya CIC will provide them with financing to test those ideas, and once those ideas are tested, the next phase is to go to commercialization. That requires a lot of money, and we do have commercial financing for these entrepreneurs. We also have access to facilities. If they need testing services, if they need office facilities, we'll also be able to provide that. And more importantly, we recognize that innovators are not always business people. So we provide business advisory, kind of consultancy services to those innovators to make sure that they can be able to make their ideas bankable. Thank you.
Thank you, Edward. Kemi, what's your view on how we can better connect developing country companies to the global innovation system?
Thank you very much for the organizers for organizing this type of forum. I'm very humbled to be part of the panelists. Indeed, WIPO Green has been helping innovators like us. If not for them, our initiative will probably go down the drain without them. So a lot of people like you, Edward, have rightfully said that a lot of people died with their idea because of lack of partnership or innovative people, or people that believes in their dreams. So with the most important factors in creation of an enabling environment, is very crucial to the success of projects like ours, which is the Ghana Bamboo Bike. Working with WIPO, Green, and other partnership has really helped us to connect with the global green market place. As we all know, the world has become a global market. Doing business is all over the world. You can be at the pleasure of your living room or wherever you are and be able to connect globally. So it has really helped us, and being partnership with other people that believes in what we are doing, most especially as the Ghana Bamboo Bike. We have been doing that to support youth and also the communities. In partnership with the Newton Alfonso Development Foundation has really helped us to create more employment for almost 60 youth in 3 different areas in our communities, which also the Newton Gold Mine has its operation. So it has really helped us, globally, not only in Ghana, but we have other areas that are showing interest and coming up to partner with us. So.
Thank you very much. In fact, one of the incidences I remember, and I call it incident deliberately, it was when we launched WIPO Green a year ago in Geneva. Bernice Dappa, the founder and CEO of Ghana Bamboo Bikes, was at the launch. And she brought a real bamboo bike to WIPO in Geneva, and we still have it, and we use it occasionally. And it was, I call it an incident because we actually rode it after the launch, when everybody was gone and the cameras were gone. We rode it in the hall of the entry hall of WIPO. And there was one thing that Bernice highlighted was the brand recognition, the name recognition, to have the consumer or people actually value and feel if they buy this or get this, there's quality in it. And that's one form of IP. Now, you are also managing a communication company, I understand. Yes. Mm-hmm. Of course, communication is also about trust.
Yes.
Those that receive your messages need to trust you. Yes. It's also about the brand.
Yes.
Do you care elaborate a little bit what you're doing with your communication company?
Really, information is very powerful. So when it comes to communication, yes, and thank God for technology now. It's everywhere, social media, everybody is connected. And branding yourself and telling your own story is very important. And I wish Bernice is here right now to really tell her story about how she started this bamboo bike. But coming from technology arena, it's very important. It's have the same thing to do with innovation, innovative ideas, sharing, and technology transfer. Because we have to, if I don't know what is going on in your community, then I won't be able to join forces and be able to help you in that area. Same likewise, if you don't know what is going on, but when we start communicating, when we start collaborating and we start partnering, then we can take our ideas, our businesses to another level. So I think I would love to have bring the bamboo bike because I have one with me, but due to transportation issue, I was unable to bring it. But if you see it, you would love to have one and ride it around. And we're hoping that with this partnership with WIPO, what they have been doing to support people like our initiative and other people that are in the panelists, I'm sure we'll be able to take the initiative to the next level. And what we are looking for concerning bamboo bike is to be able to have it in international markets. Thank you.
I must say that fortunately enough, nobody took a video when I was riding the bike because I was already a bit under the influence. However, if you Google Ban Ki-moon bamboo bikes, you can find a video of Ban Ki-moon riding the bamboo bike.
Thank you. So Kingsley, based on SSC's experiences, what is it that companies need in developing countries?
Well, I join my colleagues to thank the organizers and also the hosts of this event. Coming to speak after three able speakers, sometimes it presents its own challenges. I'll try to showcase what is a little bit different from what they have already said. The first thing that you need to look at in terms of companies from developing countries is to set up what I call knowledge management. And I think in that regard, Kenya ICCI fits in very well. Knowledge management in terms of innovations that are happening and also the needs in terms of technological needs in that particular country or in that particular area that you're looking at. And then, of course, building what I call technology marketplaces where again, SSC and the likes of the WIPO Green Network presents an opportunity where you could deposit those technologies and needs that have been mapped out in the different localities that you have identified. So that connectivity needs to happen between the marketplace that you have created that may be global or semi-global, maybe regional, also with the knowledge management centers in the local communities that you have. Because we can never be everywhere at all the time, even if you're a network. So utilizing the different members of the networks is very critical, and that brings in itself the different expertise that you need in terms of development. Again, the legal frameworks that support the innovativeness of a particular country or a particular region that needs to be looked at critically, because that also tells a lot in terms of the absorption of outside technologies that are coming, and also the linkages that people will be looking out for if they want to connect with the outside world. So the legal framework, that also is critical, and also you need to look at capacity building. How do we link not only the so-called innovators, but also universities, where I think it's a place where thinking and dreaming is allowed at all times and every time. So that connectivity of universities should also be brought in as a source of innovation and also a linkage that could provide, better senses of technological mapping in different places. Can I still continue?
Yes.
All right.
I have a question, but please.
Please.
No, continue.
All right. So these connectivities can be private to private, public to private, and public to social or government to an international organization. Because most of the time, I come from Zambia, and I would say that where the government is not there, there is some form of an NGO that looks out of the interest of the people. So these connectivities would help to map out the needs and the technologies that are in a particular country, and through the marketplaces that have been established, and there's still a gap for some more. Those marketplaces then become a repository that helps refine, redefine, and also set up the need to expand those technologies in the different countries. Thank you.
Kingsley, you mentioned universities. Can you elaborate a bit more on what role specifically they could play, for instance, in enhancing the absorptive capacity, or what you had in mind with mentioning the universities and their crucial role?
Thank you. I wish Edward would pick that one up because it fits his role very well. That said, the universities train a lot of people. that is in technical fields and also in business fields. And if you heard Edward when he was mentioning, you have to train, because some of the innovators are not business oriented, so to say, the universities could be able to provide those trainings maybe at a relatively cheaper rate if you were to ask me to go and provide such a training. So you'd use that, because then you're targeting also the youth. You're not only targeting the established innovators in a country, but also the youth. From the word go, you are putting in the sense of innovation, and also the need to capture other innovations from outside your region. I think in terms of where I live in China, I look at young people, how they look at Facebook right now, that it is blocked out there, and they are able to develop within that closed system their own system that doubles kind of like a Facebook, and that alone has brought about a lot of innovations and businesses that have taken up to be able to use that as a marketing tool and also as a sales point for all different kind of things. I should mention here that just a few days ago, 11 November in China is considered the internet buying day. So everybody can buy anything on the internet, and it's very, very cheap. So that alone has created a lot of businesses that people don't now need to go to the shop to buy a cell phone. If I remember the figures, it was maybe about $50 billion of sales in that one single day that happened. So these are the things that I look at. It has given the young people to be able to play a part in the innovation and also in the technology field of that particular country. Thank you.
Pachin, can you describe your PIPA's experience and how you're trying to support, or how more generally you think companies, what kind of support companies need based on your experiences?
Sure. So I'm here representing PIPA, which is Public Interest Intellectual Property Advisors. And basically, it's an NGO that for the past 12 years has really done direct legal assistance services related to IP at the global level. And I'll share 3 stories about the work that PIPA has done that really demonstrates how entities, individuals in developing countries, it's not so much that they have problems connecting to the global innovation system, but it's more that they are connected, but it's just that they may not have the same access to IP resources, which is what PIPA is trying to remedy to, and what WIPO Green is also trying to remedy to, provide the access of a more equitable access, rather, with IP knowledge and IP assistance. So one example, for example, is that in Nigeria, there's something called Nollywood. They have a booming creative industry that creates movies and music that Africans all over the world really enjoy. The problem with that was that because there were no copyrights on those artwork, then the artists in Nigeria were not able to really receive benefits from their work. And they approached PIPA, and PIPA was able to help them register copyrights and actually enforce their rights, so that now they're able to receive royalties from their work, and their livelihoods have been enhanced thanks to, IP tools. Another example is, for example, when NAFTA was signed, and the Canadian government was really interested in giving a good opportunity for South American markets, products to enter the Canadian market. So they contracted with PIPA, and they said, can you help, for example, farmers in Colombia, and see how you can use IP to add value to their products, so that when they get to the Canadian market, there can be real value to the fact that there's a trade agreement between the 2 countries, and that trade agreement is bringing real economic benefits to the people from Colombia. A third example would be that back when there were those flu epidemics, Indonesia was the country that had the viruses that were needed to, I guess, try to find a cure. And at the time, Indonesia said, oh, you know, we're kind of tired of always sharing our viruses, and then it goes to the, you know, the rich countries, the big companies. They find a treatment out of our viruses, and then they sell us the products very expensive. And Indonesia said, we want to be part of that system. We want to be part of the global health innovation system. And so at the time, PIPA was contracted with to perform a patent landscape report that was able to provide empirical evidence that could help Indonesia, and then at the time, the WHO, to come to an agreement as to what would be a more equitable way to share viruses so that there could be a solution to a global epidemic that would be also fair to a developing country. So those are like 3 concrete examples of how developing countries are connected to global innovation systems, but all they need is a more equitable access through IP tools. And organizations like PIPA and WIPO Green can help do that.
Thank you. I will not pronounce your first name, but I will let you repeat it, please.
Oh, sure. It's Payang, and people are always confused. It's the C in the middle. It's not heard.
Thank you. So you saved the day so that I don't mispronounce it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think the 3 examples you gave are fantastic, and I think they show how IP has been nothing but a sort of a turning point around which relationships between the musicians, for example, and the consumers can be structured, and how PIPA has effectively helped many in developing countries to get connected. My question to you is, do you also have activities that scale up, that provide, in fact, more broad capacity building and training so that because you can't be at every place and every deal, are there certain things that you can do, or are you doing certain things like training, capacity building?
Yes.
What's in the pipeline?
Yes, exactly. Well, we have done capacity building, and typically our projects have involved hopefully maybe bringing a team of experts on the ground and helping train people on the ground. And then more recently, PIPA has actually become the administrator for the IP handbook, which is a very well-respected online resource on various IP topics. It's going to be used in many different projects, but in the future, I think it will be marketed and advertised a little bit more, although at the moment, people who are in the IP world know about the IP handbook. However, of course, when we talk about self work, then there may need to be a little bit more outreach, as well as maybe a tailoring, and we have that also in the pipeline. There will be a couple of projects where we're going to be collaborating on certain substantive areas, or maybe more geographically specific applications.
Thank you. Yorimasa, in Teijin's, or your experience with Teijin, how can we enhance connectivity?
At first, thank organizers and facilitators for giving me such an opportunity. I'm a member of Japan Intellectual Property Association WIPO Green project. So this is not the experience of my company Teijin, but the member of WIPO Green project in Japan. I have been invited many cases, many conferences of international open innovation and global open innovation and R&D development recently to introduce WIPO Green, especially in Asian countries. And actually, just 3 weeks ago, I attended the R&D Open Innovation Symposium held in Malaysia. And at such an occasion, I always was very much impressed that excellent, skilled engineers and professors in developing countries has already made enormous development innovations. So in such meaning, they are already included in the innovation system. But I believe that they should not be satisfied at that stage. They should make more further development of their technology through the collaboration with developed countries, scientists and companies. And in such a case, IP systems is indispensable tool for them. And it is important and necessary to share the value and the benefit from the IPR system between developed and not only developed countries, but also developing countries.
Thank you. You personally and JIPA, the Japan Intellectual Property Association, have been formidable forces in helping us build and frame the issues of WIPO Green, or at least the points of entry. Would you be able to elaborate on a specific contribution as a way of illustration, maybe, on how JIPA has so far helped, which has been tremendous? You have been an ambassador yourself. Could you elaborate a little bit, maybe by one example of one of your recent trips that you described to me this morning? Might be very interesting for the audience to hear.
At the same symposium in Kuala Lumpur, I knew that there are a very effective social network system for the agricultural issues and solutions developed by SATNet. SATNet in the subsidiary of UNESCAP based on Jakarta, Indonesia. And so I felt that at the time, WIPO Green should learn from such an effective system already existed in the developing area.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let me see whether I can come up with another reformulation of the question, Situni, based on your experience with UNEP, your work at UNEP. What can we do for companies in developing countries and to integrate them in the global innovation system?
Well, thank you, Anya, and thanks very much to WIPO and to the organizers for inviting me to take part in this debate. And good afternoon, everyone. To your question on how to connect developing countries with the global innovation system, based on our experience at UNEP, where we work with countries on the ground to help them innovate and have the enabling conditions that will allow them to have access to technologies, I would like to answer your questions in two answers. The first one, what you need is policies. And the second one, what you need is a market environment. On policies, because we know by experience, by working with countries directly, unless there is the political will and there are policies on the ground to help innovators, to help researchers, to help companies and SMEs to have the confidence to come into the market, then nothing will happen. So you need the policies in place, and one of the previous panel speakers mentioned the enabling environment. You need an environment that can enable innovation, that can facilitate innovation. So government has a role to play in make sure the policies are in place to give reassurance to the companies, to the innovators to come in with their innovations. The second point I mentioned is the market environment. Well, obviously, to innovate, you need to make sure there is a market out there for you to innovate. And that means also that you need to be sure that there is some kind of reward for your innovation, and hence the importance of IP. Because if you're going to innovate, then you need to understand that there is a reward for you there to make sure that your effort, your innovation is recognized and is also shared worldwide. And the third point I mentioned about this, which is relevant to the topic of this event, cooperation. Again, cooperation is absolutely important, and we know that there are many successful public and private partnerships because they bring in different actors, because they bring in different expertise, different experience, and they make that cooperation, that collaboration successful. So again, these are 3 points that I would highlight to enable developing countries' companies to connect with the global innovation system.
Thank you very much, Situni. I found your 3 points very interesting. Could you please elaborate a bit on the policies? What, maybe 2, 3, or 4, what would be the key points of entry to consider? I'm not asking you to be prescriptive what the policy should be, but what are the policy elements that should be considered? What would you think for the uptake of green technologies in particular?
Well, the policies are sort of a signal for both the medium and long term of what is going to happen to the market, for instance. Will there be any regulation? And if there is a regulation, how long is it going to last for? What are the requirements? What is needed from companies and investors? And that's absolutely important. And I'll give you an example of what's happening in the energy sector, for instance, where you have a lot of innovation at the moment on the energy efficiency. The International Energy Agency, in its market report of 2013, it's found that the total investment in energy efficiency was $300 billion. And how was that achieved? It's because it was largely achieved by policy interventions. So this is why to highlight, the policy interventions from the government or regionally sometime are absolutely important in facilitating innovation.
Thank you very much. What I conclude from this is perhaps that countries have lots to gain by looking at which particular policy interventions in their particular circumstances allow them to get better connected. Would that be a fair restatement of what you just said?
Yes, absolutely. And maybe I'll add just one another point, which is often relevant to innovation and to companies, which is the risk. If you are an innovator, if you are an SME or someone who wants to get into the market, you need to make sure that there is a low risk for you to come in. And this is why the role of government is also important in helping reducing that risk. So again, in addition to policies, was part of the policies to put in place is to make sure that there is a reduced risk and higher confidence for innovation. So to have this enabling environment that fosters innovation.
Thank you. So there are the global policy elements, and I think the UNFCCC would be one of them, the frameworks to set a global policy agenda, national governments and perhaps institutions as well. We have done the tour of the table, at least one tour. We'll do a second one, this time coming with one question, a separate question for each of the panelists. I would like to go back to Alison. One of the publications that I remember in the Harvard Business Review is by your chairman and CEO. It's called reverse innovation. I was very challenged by that idea, reverse innovation. And it actually works, the paper describes how General Electric has worked with Indian inventors and innovators to, well, maybe I'll let you phrase what was meant by reverse innovation, but more broadly, I would like to ask you specifically the question on India. How has your successful model with reverse innovation and generally with innovation in India, how can you adopt and apply this model in other developing countries in the South in order to help them to get better connected?
Thanks, Anatol, for the question. So it used to be we would develop products where you would start out with sort of a Western-facing product and then de-feature it and bring that down to an area which we thought at the time was appropriate for a developing country. Well, it turns out that doesn't really work, or at least it doesn't work too well. And the idea behind reverse innovation, or I almost think of it as distributed innovation, that we think about the specific market where we want to deploy first and design that product, other than the other way around. The example that's been very popularized with reverse innovations actually comes from our healthcare space, slightly different, but they designed a EKG machine to measure, it's sort of like a heart monitor, and they made it significantly cheaper using parts that were locally sourced. For example, the printer for that particular part was the same printer from bus terminals, bus tickets that they use, and more rugged because it had to go into sort of a different environment. And those kinds of innovations, turns out, worked for both the developing and the developed world quite well in terms of that. When, I think of India in particular as a very creative culture in terms of the marketplace. So when I think of who the best people to develop technology for climate-related needs, they're usually the people who are closest to it, that know what the problems are, know what the availability is, and so forth. So in that regard, I think it's really important to listen to those people and let them be the designers. That doesn't mean they can't be supported from other places, but certainly the first step in that is to have the people who will be using the products be the ones who develop them.
If I may just say, the paper is about 12 years old now, 11 years old if I'm not mistaken.
It might be slightly newer.
Or maybe less, but it was a required reading in the classes I taught. Jeffrey Inmelt, Reverse Innovation, and you'll find it on Google, you can download it. I know I was not paid for this advertisement. It's really a very, very, very thoughtful piece of academic work, actually.
Edward, could you please describe the example of how you scaled up technology transfer in Kenya with the biomass briquettes, and then maybe more particularly why the company has decided to file patents and what role they play in your commercialization plan?
Thank you very much, Anya. Think about a pilot who comes to Kenya CIC and says that he wants to quit his piloting and start making briquettes. And the reason why he wanted to do that is because he's seen the challenges that the tea factories in Kenya were facing. Remember, tea factories are using boilers, and those boilers are driven by wood fuel. And this wood fuel is from the forest, which then makes forests very unsustainable. And in Kenya, for instance, we are moving from 10% forest cover to about 5% forest cover. And this guy, Aaron Marega, had a great, brilliant idea how he can use agricultural waste to make briquettes which should be used in tea factories. Unfortunately, he had 4 challenges. And the first challenge was finance. The second one was the technology. And related to technology was the challenge of which biomass to use. And then the fourth challenge was how to build a business, because remember, he's a pilot, he have no clue what a business look like, and how does a business plan look like, and therefore needed help in that sense. And the fourth thing that he needed, and more critical, once he have the three, was to see how he can make those briquettes in an exclusive way. And the reason why they have to be exclusive is because he was dealing with multinationals, and those multinationals had operations not just in Kenya, but beyond Kenya, and therefore he wanted to safeguard his ideas, and therefore he had to file for IP. Now, his filing for IP, again, as I said before, was for the purposes of trust. He couldn't trust anybody with his ideas, not until when he had registered a patent or had IP rights. And therefore, as KCIC, we assisted him, and these now have managed him to get the possibility of being the only one making these kind of briquettes in a multinational firm, and at the same time went to Denmark and identified, together with us, a company which have got a solution or a technology which can make these briquettes. And remember, this company didn't know how to make those briquettes, so they've been working together, and that is CF Nielsen, where now they'll be joining forces to be able to make these briquettes. The other biggest challenge was financing. He required $1.2 million US, but because he had the patent, he had the source of biomass, now we've managed to secure the money. So I think that if you look at it, it is a requirement to have an IP, but not really unnecessary. Or IP, basically, I'm trying to say, is one key element. Then the other three other things that I mentioned are also critical. And therefore, now we are seeing Aaron starting already to make those briquettes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And this technology you'll also find on the WIPO Green database in the future. Kemi, could you also describe the new partnership Bamboo Bikes has entered into in order to scale up the bamboo bikes in Ghana?
Yes, thank you for the question. The Ghana Bamboo Bikes Initiative has partnered with WIPO Green, and they have signed an MOU with Newmont Development Foundation, which is currently operating in Ghana. So it's make it more easier for them to be in partnership with Ghana Bamboo Bike, because they're already in existence. They're already operating in Ghana, so that they can monitor the activities. And this has also given Ghana Bamboo Bike the opportunity to create more jobs for the youth in Ghana. And in doing so, we are literally eliminating poverty. We also has established 4 communities that are benefiting directly for creating this job for the youth in the communities. By doing so, the youth now will be able to be trained as a bamboo bike builders, which they are very much interested in doing, and they are taking pride in doing that. And also some of them are using the raw materials from the bamboo bikes to create charcoal briquette, like you said. We are using that as well. And in manufacturing some of these, the briquette for the cooking, you know, the local women are using that for their cooking, and it's really eliminating emission. We have created almost about 10 acres to develop and plant more bamboo bikes, which is also helping the mining of the land. The bamboo projects recently will also be helping in eliminating emission, not only through the transportation, but through the bamboo bikes, because it generates less emission, unlike the regular transportation. Using bamboo bike in Ghana has also helped the community, most especially the grassroots, the farmers, are using it as a means of transportation from one village to the other, and it's making it easier for them to transport their goods. I'm not sure if the bamboo bag that Bernice brought to the last show, they have created another, it's like a carriage that is attached to it now. And one local pharmaceutical company has also tapped into that because it's easier for them to transport their medical supplies from one facility to the other. So, greatly, we have been able to develop that project, and it's really very been productive in our environment, and the youth and the women are embracing it. Thanks to WIPO for partnering with us. Thank you.
I think, thank you very much. We like to get credit where credit is due, but I think this is really, you've been way too kind to WIPO Green, frankly. But
really, without the...
We accept all accolades. But
really, seriously, without the partnership, we won't be able to move the initiative to the next level. So it has really helped us a great deal. And like I said earlier, we're planning to market it internationally.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kingsley, now the South-South Global Asset and Technology Exchange, you are announcing, in fact, a call for investors today.
Yes.
Taking us back to Uganda. And Kim, if you could turn off the mic, please.
Thank you. Well, it's both a call to invest and also maybe just to highlight how the South-South Gate basically has helped SMEs in the developing world. The project I'm going to talk about is called SEPA. Basically, it's an integrated agriculture and energy project. Agriculture in that we are looking at coffee processing, storage, and from farming to storage anyway, and also then energy production for processing this coffee, and also then for exports to the outside world. The model that we have adopted for this project basically is born out of the LDC meeting that we had in Benin, where there is a model called the Songhai Center, which is an integrated farming where you grow fish, you grow vegetables, you grow everything, but each of these stages feed into the other. Chicken droppings for fish, and then the dairy water for your plants, and then recycle, something like that. So that's the model that we are trying to adopt into the coffee production in Kenya, or the West coffee, that it could be used for feed production for the other animals, including fish, and then the rest of the West also could be used as manure or fertilizer for the, crops themselves. Then part of it will be used into biomass production to be able to supply minimum energy for coffee roasting. And that whole project, right now, we have been able, we got the project through that, and also linked the project from Ghana, from Uganda into with the project in Benin. And so there is that training and exchange of ideas that is happening right now. Then on the other side, we have also approached a couple of financing institutions out of Europe. I think this has been one of the roles that the WIPO Green Network has brought in through the partnership that they have with the ETIF, that is the Agriculture and Technology Transfer Fund under the Deutsche Bank. And through this partnership, we have presented this project to them, and right now they are doing the in-house evaluations. They will give us feedback, and of course we have already done the introductions of the project owners and the possible financiers. So they have been talking back and forth in terms of what exactly is required. So this, in a nutshell, that's what SSK does. We bring people together. We match the person that needs something with somebody that can be able to supply. be it from the production point of view or to the finance part of it. So that's, in a nutshell, that's what we do. And of course, we are sourcing some of the projects from the WIPO Green Network, and we hope that we can continue growing this network and continue growing businesses that will create more employment and bring development to the part of the world where I come from. Thank you.
Payan, you have an important announcement to make as well, but I'll let you describe it.
Great, thank you. Well, as mentioned before, PIPA administers a network of IP professionals. We have about a couple thousands of IP experts. A lot of them are IP attorneys, but some of them are tech transfer experts. Some of them are just scientists that have done a lot of IP work. And we were very fortunate to have several of them, including a large law firm, pledge over 300 hours of pro bono hours that they are willing to spend on WIPO Green projects. So we are very pleased to be able to make this concrete contribution of IP skills that will enable WIPO Green projects to actually realize its goal of doing green tech transfer. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. 300 hours of pro bono services for least developed countries and lower middle income countries, SMEs. I think that's a tremendous announcement. Thank you very much. We have another panel member who is not here, Paul Needham. I think all of you have received the one-pagers. If not, at the table in the back, you have about 7 or 8 one-pagers, one of which is from Paul Needham, Simpa Networks. He announced that he has just completed a successful round of financing of $7.2 million, among others from the Asian Development Bank, a partner of WIPO Green, and many more. The innovation is to bring solar panels to villages in India. There are over 400 million people in India who are off the grid, who don't have regular access to electricity. And what his company does, it brings scalable, decentralized ways of bringing power to villages. What is unique about his model is his proprietary progressive purchase model. So he leases the solar panels with a metering system to the villages, provides the service and the training also to maintain it, and then people can use it and pay as you go. The more they use, the less they pay, in order to recharge batteries, cell phones, lights, and so forth. And this new round of financing should enable him to get to 1 million more people. So I think another round of applause for Paul Needham and Simpa Networks. And I should have said, I think we should have applauded the others as well. So my apologies for having been biased here. Now we come to Japan and Yorimasa Suva. Would you please describe the wastewater management project that is funded by the government of Japan, which is truly a triangular cooperation?
Thank you. Wastewater project in WIPO Green is a project to assist, financially assist the primary search of the needs in developing countries. And basically, in WIPO Green, business development is responsible of both parties, technology seekers and technology providers. But I thought it is necessary to have some kind of financial support in WIPO Green. So I proposed a wastewater management project last year to the JPO, Japan Patent Office, International Cooperation Division, and also the WIPO, Asia and Pacific Bureau. And especially with JPO, I made a dialogue several times because it was the first time for them to make such an enabling project, enabling technology transfer project. So the project has been started this year, and we focus this year wastewater management to support wastewater management. And there has already been 28 wastewater management technologies uploaded in the WIPO Green database. And it includes the finished product and basic technology, both of the finished products and basic technology. As you see in the one-pager of the wastewater treatment system of Teijin, my company is one of them. And as for this wastewater treatment system of Teijin, it was originally developed in US, here in US. And it was a license to Teijin and developed in Japan and also China. And Teijin is now seeking for the new market in other Asian countries in addition to China. So wastewater management project will be useful for such a case. It is most important for the, I believe that it is most important for the green technology transfer is to know the real needs in the developing countries. Real needs is not only for the customer needs, but also for the governmental regulation and appropriate business model in each area. So through the consultant WIPO recommended, the technology providers can access to the skilled engineers and excellent companies in the developing area in this project. So it will contribute to expand the usefulness of the WIPO Green system, I believe.
Thank you, Yorimasa. And I just want to highlight again the countries that are involved in that project are Philippines, Indonesia, and Vietnam. And there's also great potential for cooperation between those countries and addressing or identifying also common needs that could be then scaled up. So a round of applause for the government of Japan. Thank you. And Setuni, could you also describe CTCN's business model and how CTCN and WIPO are collaborating?
Okay, thank you, Anya. So hopefully you picked up the one page there that explains what the Climate Technology Center and Network is about. But if you haven't, let me just tell you briefly, internationally, in the international climate negotiations, countries kept debating the fact that technology transfer is not happening fast enough, that developing countries are not having the access of technology to help them face the challenges of climate change for both mitigation and adaptation. And the answer they came up with is to put in place a global technology mechanism that can address this. And as part of this mechanism, you have the Climate Technology Center and Network, which operates in a way that asks developing countries to assess their technology needs, so to do an assessment nationally and to say, my country needs X, Y, and Z. Not just technologies, but support for technology access, for capacity building, for innovation, for local skills, etc. So they come to the CTCN and say, this is what I need. And the key thing about the CTCN is that through this exercise, it matches the country's needs with the best support that they could receive, either for, as I said, capacity building or other means that allows them to have those enabling environments we've been talking about to receive the technology or to innovate locally on the technology. So it has direct engagement with the countries. How are they supported through the Climate Technology Center Network? Well, the CTCN has 11 centers of expertise located all around the world. So they have expertise in technology transfer to developing countries. And in addition to that, the CTCN also has 96 members of its network. And the network is open to any organization, any individual who has expertise or knowledge in technology transfer who want to be part of that. Again, if you're interested, I can talk to you after this panel discussion. I'll be happy to explain to you. So at the moment, we're reaching almost 100 network members that can respond directly to the countries in what they need to have access to the technologies. And obviously, the expertise of WIPO is also pertinent, because if the countries find that one of the barriers they have is IP, if that's really the case, then WIPO would be able to help us to help the country address that issue of IP, so that it doesn't prevent them from having access to the technology. So the network is diverse, and this is one of the beauty of the CTCN, if you like, because we have NGOs, we have public sector, we have private sector companies, we have international government organizations, and all these network members, they contribute to supporting the countries in the form of providing technical support, but the CTCN also helps foster not just South-South cooperation, but also North-South and South-North cooperation. So we try to encourage really, also have a system of twinning, if you like, between research organizations. And it's because it's based on what the countries need. So we don't go to the countries and say, here is what we can do for you, but we ask them, what is it that you need? And then we find the best matching for support for that. And someone mentioned the access to information. The CTCN also facilitate the access to information for the countries, so they can know what technologies are available, what support is available out there. And at the moment, we had about 24 requests from developing countries. This is given that the CTCN has been in existence just for about a year. So it's really encouraging to have 24 countries coming forward. Because through the system, we make it easy for countries to submit proposals. We don't want to have a lengthy form where it's just too complicated information. We tell countries, you could just send us an email and say, here is what I have in mind. Do you think you could help me? And then we say yes, so can you provide more detail? And that more detail could be just a couple of pages. So we have requests in the energy sector, the waste sector, agriculture, fisheries, cities and urban environment, and these touch both on mitigation and adaptation, because we don't promote the CTCN as just helping countries to reduce their emissions and move to low carbon economies, but as you know, there are countries for whom adaptation is much more important, so we try to find the balance between the two. So I think I'll stop it here. I hope this gives you an idea of something that was set up globally, and it's one of the framework that is helping developing countries to have access to low carbon technologies.
Thank you very much. I will not try and summarize nor synthesize the panel discussion. You have listened as well as I have, or perhaps, hopefully, better than I have. However, I wish to take 2 minutes or 3 minutes to share with you 3 take-home messages for myself. One is, and I think that has come through all of your presentations, that IP, intellectual property, is never an end in itself. It is merely a tool to structure relationships, be they between public and private, private and public, or between different actors along the value chain, along the innovation chain. So it's a tool to manage that interface. The second take-home message, and I think pretty much all of you have referred to, in one way or another, the role of a public entity and a private entity. And I think all of you have thrived, all of your projects and deals and businesses have thrived through a very constructive interface of public and private. Too often, in my view, the public sector and the private sector are seen as opposites. And when they are viewed as opposites, then the battle starts. And that's often, too often then, that intellectual property is viewed as a barrier. When in fact the two are indeed opposite forces, but not opposite by pulling the same string in opposite directions. But allow me to explain what I mean with a brief analogy. You all have arteries and veins. Blood that flows in two opposite directions. And that's how I view the public and private sector, as two opposite forces indeed, but that pull the same lever of life. It is very important where arteries and veins meet. It's through the capillary system. And that's what I see as IP management. IP management is managing that interface between the public and the private. Let's not forget that the objective of intellectual property is to enhance the public good. And that's where the capillary system comes in. And the more little capillaries there are, the healthier the organism. So I see public and private as two forces turning the same wheel of life and contributing, in fact, to that global innovation system. The third conclusion for myself is that the more connections there are, the more innovation happens. And the broader the network is, south-south, north-south, east-west, and so forth, the more robust the network is. And finally, that in fact deals get done through friends. And so I wish to thank the panel, my friends, and you, the audience, our future friends and new friends, for having listened to the panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you met my friend, so we have a lot of friends now. So at the end of this, we would like to thank everyone, all the panelists, and of course the audience for being with us. This will be the last session, a very enticing one. And the UN Office for South-South Cooperation would like to present plaque to each in recognition of your special contribution to South-South and Triangular Cooperation. Presenting each plaque, of course, will be our Deputy Director, Ms. Inyang Hebang Harstrup. Would like to call her in front. And as your name is called, I'd like to ask each one to join Ms. Inyang on the floor in front of the dais to receive your plaque. Okay, may we call in Zitoni Old Dada.
Thank you.
Thank you. Inyang, photo op. For the record. Yorimasa Suwa. Pasiens Lifong. It's like a graduation, right? Kingsley Kalusha. Kemi Fadojutim. Edward Mungay. Alison Mages. Angevon Durop. And last but not certainly the least, Dr. Anatoly Kratir. Thank you, colleagues. Thanks very much. See you tomorrow. Have a good one.
Yes, that's a great idea. Zituni?